Okay. Okay, let's see here. I think it's a little stuttery. It's a good thing the parts from the new computer are on their way, because this is a stuttery mess right now. And this computer has been unstable like hell for the past week. So let me play around with some stuff here. Oh, whoa, whoa. Okay. What is eating up? Time for... Okay, so as you can see, we're having a little bit of technical issues here. 1 second. I'm going to be playing around with some settings. I'll be back in a sec. Nope, dropping frames. Why are we dropping frames? Yeah, we're still dropping frames like crazy here. Let's see here. Let's see. Come on. Why are you being all a stuttery mess all of a sudden? Oh. There we go. Okay, I think we're okay there. There we go. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I was showing it was just being a stuttery mess on my end here. It doesn't help the, my computer crashed literally like 5 minutes before I went live, so I had to reload everything. Crashed again. Good old blue screen. I'm just waiting for YouTube to launch back up. OBS launches before Chrome, of course. Yeah, I'm not too happy right now. I don't even know if I'm live right now. I can't see anything. Except that it is streaming. So, the way things are going, I'm probably going to be canceling the stream tonight. Because the exact same thing happened where I was trying to run Bologna Etcher. And computer just hard locked and blue screened. So I don't know what's going on here. I might just do like a quick chatting stream here, because I really don't know what the hell's going on. Channel update, if anything. This has been a fun week. I'll get into that in a minute. Go live. Okay. Okay, I think we're live. Okay, am I back? Okay. So, issues that I'm having right now. The current computer that I use for streaming is a really old computer. It's an X5450 base system, and the only reason it can handle a stream is because it has a 1060. Last week, people were very generous with donations, and I thank you for that. So with those, I'm putting it towards the stream, as I said I do. Anything that I get, I put into the stream, or printer stuff. And I have a new motherboard, new CPU, new RAM on the way. It'll be in Monday. I ordered that stuff Tuesday morning, so I got a Ryzen 3100, 16 gigs of RAM and a cheap B450. I'm reusing the power supply. I'm reusing the video card. I got a spare solid state drive I'm going to be using. So Monday we'll have a new computer hopefully, so I won't have to deal with this. Because what happened was a couple streams back I was using a different computer because my brother had given me his old FX based computer, and what I did was I took the SSD out of this computer and put it in there, and I ran it for like 2 streams, but it was just unstable as hell. So I ended up going back to this computer. Well, the problem was I just pulled the SSD between the 2 computers, and when I put it into the other one, I had to install a bunch of drivers and whatnot for the hardware on that computer to get stuff working. And now that I've gone back to this computer, it's been very unstable since then. Like, for example, the Bluetooth wasn't working anymore. So now I can't stream Bluetooth for whatever reason. So this week I went through and I deleted, like I went through and I uninstalled all the drivers and whatnot from the old computer. And since then, this computer has been really buggy. For example, when you boot it up, it thinks I'm booting up Windows for the first time, and it gives me that little setup Cortana thing every time. And anytime I boot up, it forgets all my logins for Chrome and everything, so I have to relog into everything. So, yeah, and for the past 2 times I've tried to run Balana Etcher to flash the SD card for the Pi to put Clipper on this guy. It's blue screened on me. Once 5 minutes before the stream, and the other time 5 minutes into the stream. So, tonight I don't think I'm going to do any hardware. This is going to be a very short stream. I planned on actually going through and doing a full, getting this guy ready. So I can't unfortunately do that because of, I don't want the stream to crash again, because it seems to be holding now. Somebody just throw a 1 in chat. My chat isn't moving, so I don't know if chat crashed. That would make sense at this point. So yeah, so I think I'm just going to clean this guy up a little bit. Like, as you can see right now, my my wiring solution for the power is kind of not exactly OSHA compliant. We got to find somewhere to put the Pi. We got to wire the Pi up to it. So right now, for those that don't know, a Raspberry Pi Zero runs Clipper really well. If you're running mainsail or Fluid, which is another alternative for those looking like an all-in-one alternative for Octoprint. So with the Raspberry Pi using so little power, you can power this guy directly off your SKR Mini, which means you can avoid having to run a buck converter or a separate power supply for your Raspberry Pi. So it makes a really nice compact package because you can literally just run this directly off this, and it's all in one. So it's kind of like how what's the board on the Prusa? But anyways, you can basically connect the board on the Prusa directly to a Raspberry Pi Zero. You can do the same thing here, but since we don't have to deal with Octoprint, it actually runs well. Okay, chat's working. Zen Bender, printing first object on my switch wire tonight. About to record a serial number request video. Good job, man. Congrats. So let's do some wiring. So we got to figure out right now. This is just atrocious the way I have this set up, but this was earlier today. I just wanted to feed it some power because the last thing you want to do is go live on a stream and have your computer crash 20 times and be unable to actually do what you meant to do tonight. So rip for the plans. But the other thing is you don't want sparks, because you've all been here, or for those that were here during the V2 build, when we did have a little sparky spark on one of the streams. So I try to avoid that now. So, oh, actually, let me plug this back in. I want to show you guys that it works. Make sure I plug these in the right way. And the main reason I wanted to make sure this worked before going live was the probe. So for those that watched last week's stream, we decided to YOLO it, and instead of setting up a Z end stop, we were gonna just literally, as you can see, we strapped a inductive probe, just bolted it onto the side of the tool head. So it's it works properly. So, as you can see, we got the little light. And when I move it up, it moves away from the bed. So right now, for reference, okay, this is a PL08 probe, okay? It's a $3 probe from China, okay? So you have a $3 PL08, you have a 10-cent BAT85 diode, and as long as you are running a flex plate bed, you can do, there's your probe, okay? What I will try, because I have one, is we'll see how good the probe works on just a cheapo aluminum bed like you would find on an Ender 3. Because, what's his name? I won't say the company name, but they sell a kit for adding a probe to your Ender 3 that's, in my opinion, extremely overpriced. This is $3.10, and this gives you a inductive probe. But I think you do need the flex plate, because an inductive plate... Oh, you know what? Are you serious? Okay, if you have an Ender 3 and you have a shitty... What is this? 1/8 aluminum. A PL08 will work for a bed probe. So for $3.10, you can get an inductive probe on pretty much any printer, because there is enough sense distance. And this is running 12 volts, which is worst case scenario for an inductive probe, because they work better with higher voltage. You like the drama that sparks cause? Yes, it does make good entertainment. We're all here for content, remember. Don't home on the switch wire without the flex plate. Don't ask me how. Yes, a PCB bed will not work. Okay, so if you have a PCB bed, no. If you have a PL05, it would definitely... Yes. So, for those that don't know, there's the PL05, the PL08, and then there's a few other inductive probes that work in the same form factor, okay? So, how it works is, think of it as a wave or whatever, but the higher the number is the sense distance. So, on ferrous steel, a PL08 will sense at 8 millimeters, okay? When fed usually 24 volts. You know, these go up to 36 volts, you can beat them. So, an 05 is only 5 millimeters. Now, when you drop down to as not ferrous metal, such as aluminum, it will still sense it, but the sense range is much lower. So, on the original spec for the V2s, for example, we spec'd having a PL08 because we were just running aluminum beds. Now that everyone's running flex plates, because flex plates are, you know, awesome, their bed comes off. Everyone is now running PL05s because it gives you more accuracy. So the sense distance, the between the pulses or whatever, the frequency is more accurate. So anyways, I'm legit surprised with this. I might do a video on this. Yeah. So right now I'm getting... Let me see what my sense distance even is. It isn't great. Don't get me wrong. It isn't great. I do have some of the Panasonic ones, I believe, or the AliExpress recommended ones are on the way. What do we got? We got 4 millimeters. 4 millimeters. So, if you can mount one of these on your printer and 2 millimeters above the nozzle, or 1 millimeter above your nozzle, or whatever, you're cutting it close. I will say you will be cutting it close. With the flex plate, I am getting... I always forget, you gotta spin them at the same time. With the flex plate, we are getting... Oh, that's not bad. 5, 6, 7 millimeters. So I'm getting 7 millimeters with the flex plate. If you're running a 24 volt system, expect more, up to 8. So... I'm legit surprised that these work on the cheapo Filippo aluminum beds. So theoretically, you could do this on your Ender 3 and get a probe set up for $3.10 from AliExpress. And it literally plugs directly into your end stop, so you don't need a separate hookup. That's your Z end stop now. That is really cheap. I'm going to do a video on that then, because that is super simple. So anyway, so the probe works. So that means we can have bed mesh leveling on our 120 millimeter bed, because we totally need that with 120 millimeters. Okay. So we obviously don't have any firmware, because I can't risk installing it. So let me turn that off. Unfortunately, because this is a V1.2 of the Mini E3, it only has one CNC fan. So that means our part fan, or our heatsink cooling fan, is just going to run continuously when it's powered on, which sucks. Because when it's printing, it's a non-issue, but it's a noise issue. And two, it lowers the life of your fan. For me, like, my printers are always on for the most part. Especially this guy. This guy has probably been on for about 5 months straight now. I don't turn my printers off, because when they're in standby mode, they're just in standby mode. So having the fans turn off is really good, because it extends the life of your fan, right? Fans do have a life on them. Steal a LiDAR module from an iPhone 12 repair kit. You know what? That could work. Like, I don't know how much it is. I do have these too. I grabbed these from work. Work. I'll get into that later. But these are scrap, but I got Rona. I don't have Rona. I got these fancy. These are for I don't know. They're for a machine, but it was for a tool scrap. But these are inductive probes, I believe. Balluff, BLLUFF is the brand name. BES01PN is the product number. Or BES01, yeah, BES01PN product number. So these are fancy inductive sensors. Since this is 8 millimeters, 10 to 20 or 10 to 30 volts. So I grabbed these from work because they were going to be thrown out. So I might play around with those. They're massive though compared to these probes. So we got to melt the pie. We got to find somewhere to put the pie. I'm running low on these self-tap screws. Okay, let's see here. Some brass inserts. Buy those by the hundreds. I'm tempted to buy another 100 of them. I'm running low. Need a laser probe. Yeah, the LiDAR module, like, theoretically could work, but you would need, like, software support and everything. Plus, I have no idea how much it could cost. How hard is it to swap a probe on an afterburner if I want to go from a PL08 to something else? It's very easy. You literally can, you take the front off. I'll do a video on it. Well, I'll probably do it on a stream at some point, because I got the Panasonic or the better ones coming in. Where am I going to put this? But it's really easy. You basically just have to take off the front, and you can just fish the wire through. Yeah, it's true. Like, I see people use them for, like, face detection and whatnot, but it's sense distance you got to worry about. As soon as you buy it, we'll change spec. Okay, where am I going to put this? I could put this... You know, I'm going to put it... Oh, I can't put it there. I'm going to block all the plugs. So if I put this right here... I'll have to take those zip ties off, but I can move those. That's not a big issue. That's just a hole. Yeah. So I'm going to mount it right there. Yeah, I was hoping to get this running tonight. But what I'll probably do is, you know, just fiddle around. We'll just... If this was Twitch, this would be more of a just chatting stream tonight. due to the fact that the computer instability is a big issue. So right now I'm watching it, it's like weird. It's acting really weird. But Monday, according to shipping, my new computer stuff will be here. So I might build it on stream, which will be fun because I'm using the power supply and the video card in the streaming computer right now, and I gotta swap them. So, what slicer did I use? I normally use Cura is my go-to. I have been dabbling with Prusa slicer a bit lately, simply for the fact that my switch wire is dual filament, and Prusa slicer is better for that, I find. So I normally use Cura though. That is my go-to. Wow, these screws suck. Let's go back to the other ones. Yeah, super slicer. The thing is though with slicers, I know, you know, people have their different flavors they like, but I know Cura, I've been using it for like 3 years now, since the version that shipped with my Monoprice Select Mini. I know I have good profiles for my printers on them, and I know they work. So if I were to switch to another one, I'd have to relearn everything and retune everything, and I can't really. I can't use the I don't have the time anymore argument, but I'd rather put the time into something else right now. Because I know what I use works, so I'm not going to complain. Really enjoyed the V0 stream. Hope to build mine soon. Greetings from Poland. Build it, man. You will enjoy it. It's a fun build. Just make sure you follow the manual and the order of operations. Please. Yeah, the V0, honestly, I don't use mine as much as I should. But I built mine as a backup printer, when at the time I had one functional V2, as Tallboy wasn't completed yet. But now I have 4 Vorons, and then whatever this abomination turns out to be. So, it's kind of been relegated to just kind of trying stuff and whatnot. Like, I brought it over to people's houses to show off a 3D printer. Like, oh, hey, this is a 3D printer. It's really good for that. I originally wanted to have it upstairs. That's why I built it. That was my original thing, was I would have it upstairs in my computer room. It has TMC drivers. It's nice and quiet. And I could just keep it upstairs. The problem is I didn't realize how much a 2.5-year-old likes to get into everything. So, like, put it this way, for a couple months there last year, I disappeared into World of Warcraft Classic, and my computer is turned off intermittently in raids because my son figured out the power button's fun to push. There we go. So, the joys of kids. Ah, dang it. Can't attach wires to it unless you solder the headers on. Soldering time. I've already built a Hypercube Evolution, but it struggles from flexing X rods. Should go with the rails instead of rods. I have nothing against rods, okay? I have nothing against rods and linear bearings. This guy uses rods and linear bearings. My V1 uses it. The problem is the rods have to support the weight along the entire axis, okay? So you can't support it at midpoint, whereas a rail, you can strap that thing to a piece of aluminum extrusion and you're fully supported along the whole length. So flexing isn't as big of an issue with aluminum extrusion, or with rails, as rods. So with rods are fine. You just have to use the right size rod for the size of, or for the span, you know? Because if you try to span too much with a rod, you'll run into issues. I believe I do have some. Yep. Now, I know I don't need to solder all the headers on, but call me OCD, but I solder all the headers on. I need more. Let's go with blue. Blue's a good color. Rails are not that much more expensive. Correct. Rails, like Chinese rails, I'm not saying Masumi, okay? Or they're the good rails, Highwind. China rails, when you compare them to good rods and bearings, aren't really that much more money. Like it looks expensive on a V0 or a V2 because you have to order 8 of them, but they're really not that expensive. Where did I put my? There it is. That doesn't want to work. Yeah, good enough. Okay. Soldering time. What am I printing on the V2? I am printing the this light so you can actually kind of see. I'm printing the it's the same inlet box for the V0, just so I can put this guy in something so I don't have wires going everywhere. So a trick for rods, get ejector pins if you can. It's an industrial item, but ejector pins for like an injection mold. That's what I used on my V. That's what this guy uses, and that's what my V0 or my V1 used back when it was a V1.5, and that's what I used for my rods. And they are they're bang on size, and they're made out of hardened H13 and they're nitrided, so they won't wear on you. Yeah, they were shipping with crappy bearings, and then I also saw they had crappy rods that weren't even hardened, so they were wearing grooves in them. And that's the same issue I had on my Monoprice Select Mini. That's why, unfortunately, I originally, instead of building this guy, so the original point was the Monoprice Select Mini. I was gonna fix it up and just boost it up and get it fixed, but it was so jacked up I just stripped it for parts. So sound should be fixed. Get the stick vise. They're amazing. Oh yeah, I gotta buy some more equipment. I know I gotta buy some better helping hands and whatnot. I'll go into that in a minute. So I got a little bit of a channel update. Because you're probably wondering why I'm streaming on a Thursday night if I normally work afternoons. The answer may surprise you. Let me check up. I got a couple of TMC 2226s out of curiosity. Do I need... no, I'm good. I have all the 2209s in all my machines, and then I still have some 2208s kicking around in step stick format. Prusa tells you not to lube the Misumi bearings. Like, one, they're supposed to be packed with grease, so not lube. You shouldn't be using oil on bearings, okay? You should be using a grease of some sort. Oil will just dry out way too quickly. Like if you had a maker bot, and they have the brass bushings on a rod, yeah, use oil for that. Unless they have grease screws in them, which I don't think they do. But anything with a bearing, you should be using grease of some sort. Won the lottery. No, my ticket is for tomorrow night, and then I win the lottery. Promotion. Nope. Opposite of promotion. Oh no. Yeah, temporary layoff due to the ongoing economic situation in the tool and mold industry due to the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. So, yeah. Eric Atkins, $10. Thanks for the vids. Got my V2.4 serial number 699. Now if I could just get the probe to behave. Just make sure your settings are right, and make sure everything's wired up. Like, what's the issue you're having with the probe? Usually it's something simple like a quick setting change, or you have your wires cross. But if you got a serial number, it should be working good enough. Yeah, temporary Rona vacation. Unfortunately, the way they worded it, it's going to be a long temporary vacation. Which means, technically, as of right now, I'm living every 12-year-old kid's dream in 2012 who plays Modern Warfare, and I'm a professional YouTuber now. Yay! Yeah, come on. It's a bad joint. There we go. Okay, so I think we're good. Oop, that's a weak joint. I'm worried about solder joints on pins I'm never going to use. There we go. Yes. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Although, to be fair, I live in Canada, and our country is pretty good when it comes to EI and unemployment insurance when it comes to the pandemic. So honestly, it's not a big issue. Like, for the first, 3 months of this, my wife was off work because all the daycare is closed. And it's really not that big of a deal. Okay. Now I have to collab with Joel. He lives in Seattle, though. He lives 3 days away from me if I drove, and in another country, which I legally can't go into. And they can't come here. So. He says he wants to build a Voron, but he's too busy. Oh, my music stopped. Don't tell me my phone crashed. I don't know. Joel's too busy breaking his 37. That was a glass bed, right? To be fair, I had a glass bed on my V1 for a little bit, and that broke. I was probing fine until the first ABA print. Doesn't seem to like the higher temps. Keeps probe samples exceeded tolerance. What kind of probe are you using? Is it the PL08, or are you using one of the better ones? And what voltage and which PL08? Yeah, that's one thing. Most of the printers he reviews are assembled printers, which I don't blame him. The way the YouTube algorithm works, it wants lots of, and he does this, YouTube is his job. So YouTube wants lots of content often, right? Little snippets, 5-10 minute videos often. So how long was the V2 build that I did? That was how many streams over a couple months? Same with the V0, that was 6, 7, 3-hour streams over a couple months. So if he were to just, record it and then condense it, he'd be working for 3 days, probably, and then editing it for one video. It's not a good return on your investment. The algorithm is a fickle beast, let me tell you. There we go. Why did you stop? There we go. It is a PL08 I got from Amazon instead of winning from China. I'm running 24 volts in the diode, wired up as shown in the manual, except on a mini E3. It should be fine. This is a mini E3. What you can do is you can change your speeds a little bit so that you might be trying to go too fast for the probe. I found with the 08s, because of the sense distance and the accuracy, if you slow it down a little bit, your dive speed, you may have better results. So you might want to try that, is just slow it down and see if that helps. Okay, so we're going to mount this right there, I think. Or do I mount it like that? Yeah, I'll mount it like that so it's not all exposed and whatnot. So I have to make a harness here. Let me pull up the pinout. Get some wires. Do I have some pre-made wires? Ooh, I do. I do. Anytime I cut off the wires from a motor, I keep the pigtail, because you never know when you need 4 wires already on a DuPont connector. Comes in handy. Okay, so RPI 0, pinout. And SKR Mini E3 V1.2 pinout. What's a better option? If you go to the sourcing guide, there are some better options linked. I believe they're like 10 to 15 bucks each for the probe. But considering the probe is probably like the most important single component on your printer when it comes to your Z accuracy, you can get a good one. I've been lucky. I have a PL08 or an 05 in here, and it's been chugging along for like a year and a half, no issues. So I'm firmly in the if it ain't broke category on that guy. Yeah, the Omrons are really good too. It's it's Omron. Okay, there's our pinout. Open image in a new tab. There we go. So, for those that don't know, there we go. On your Pi Zero, and I know I went over this in the stream previously with the V0, so I'll probably end up putting software firmware on this off stream. Oh, Brian Siebert, $5. Sorry to hear about the employment change. Going through on myself, and it's not fun. Yeah, it's happening to a lot of people. Like for our company, it was 30 people. So technically, I'm not unemployed. I'm just temporarily unemployed. But for the where is it going? Oh yeah. Oh, and by the way, thank you for the donation. Anyone who donates, it goes pretty much right into the stream. I won't be doing any big purchases for a while, but the new computer is on its way, so that should be good. If anything, the next thing that'll be purchased for the stream will be an actual proper camera instead of the camcorder I'm using now for some of that actual proper high quality video. But that'll be down the line. Furlough. Up here, it's not. We don't use the term furlough. It's just temporary laid off. Like I don't know. There's like a whole section in the government law for what it is. But anyways, for your Pi, as you can see here, we have 5-volt ground and UART transmission, UART receive. Whereas on your SKR Mini E3, same as the V1 and the V1.2 and the V2, it's the same. You get your TFT header there. That's for your screen. Well, if you look at that, it has a ground, a 5-volt, a TX, and an RX. So what you do is you connect the 5-volt to the 5-volt, the ground to the ground, the TX to the RX. So they gotta swap, okay? Because you gotta transmit into a receive and then receive into a transmit, right? As we learned in the last stream that I did this. So on the Pi, you just make sure when you hook it up that you don't plug it into that first one, you plug it into the second one. So simply like that. So we ignore the first pin because we got two 5-volt pins right at the beginning. So skip the 5-volt, then 5-volt ground, TX, RX. And then when we go to make our other end, stop rubbing it in that you live in a civilized country. Yo, man, I'm in South Detroit here. That technically isn't a lie. Where is my... There it is. Wrong kit. So 5-volt ground, 5-volt ground. So if that goes there, We're going to want these about that long. And for those of you that don't know the South Detroit joke, I live in southern Canada, where if you look at a map, southern Canada, southern Ontario, is south of Detroit. So in the Journey song, Small Town Girl, South Detroit, there is no South Detroit. South Detroit is the river, and on the other side of the river is Canada. If you have time, I would like to see how you did the display on your switch wire, as the E3 Mini only has one plug. Curious how you handle that with the ribbon cables. My Mini has a SKR E3 or an SKR 1.3. It doesn't have the Mini because I needed 5 drivers because I run 2 extruders on it. So it's not running the Mini on it. It has a normal SKR 1.3. But with Clipper, you could run just a, if you don't have hookups for the screen, you can just run a Arduino Nano, flash Clipper onto that, and use that to control the screen. That's kind of pretty much what I have on Tallboy, where I have a adapter that adapts a Arduino Nano to the hookups for a just your standard rep display. So, oh, and I guess Big Tree also sells something. There's also a USB breakout board. Yeah, that might be the one. I have so many random prototype boards. My MKS Robin Nano V1.2 is making me scream. I boot it the first time after flashing firmware and it finds the thermistor temp fine. Reboot again and then sticks the thermistor value at 347. I have no info about those boards. I've never played with them. I highly... Did you check to make sure it's not 347? It could be. I kid. I honestly don't know about that board, so I can't really comment too much. Tim Proctor, $5. What up, Nero? Is the BAT85 still recommended for the PL08N probe? Also, which probe would be better than the PL08N? Thank you for the $5. So the PL08 or the BAT85 is needed for all the probes. Okay. So yes, it's still recommended. It's actually required. Now for alternatives, if you go to the sourcing guide, there are some alternative probes linked in there in the sourcing guide. That you can use. I think I ordered I can't remember if it's the Panasonic ones. I don't think it's the Omrons, but I ordered the Panasonic ones, I think. Or I can't honestly remember. But they're both good. Then again, I've had good luck with PL08s, so yeah. If you don't use the BAT85, what happens is the probes are designed to run at anywhere from 12 to 32 volts, plus or minus a few volts depending on the probe, okay? So these ones are meant to run 6 to 36 volts, okay? So you're feeding it between 6 and 36 volts. The problem is, if you look at your hookup and what you're plugging it into, you're plugging it into a ground and a pin on your board, right? A sense pin or a sig pin. And those don't like being fed 36 volts, okay? Or 24 volts or even 12 volts. I don't know what they like, but it ain't that. So the BAT85 diode drops your voltage down. I think it bleeds it off as heat or whatever. It does microchip stuff. Super magical silicon, whatever. But anyways, it makes it so that the voltage going into your MCU is now safe. It won't, fry it. Yeah, Raymond, 5 volts. There you go. So basically, long story short, if you don't use the BAT85 diode, it'll work until it sparks up and blows something. And you don't want that. Okay, so we got black. You know, these colors don't make any sense. Plug it in backwards. There we go. So 5-volt ground. At least ground is right. Ground is green. Where are my... There we go. Hey all, what are the benefits of Clip-In? Clipper is the firmware that we recommend for running Vorons, or really any printer. It's a really good firmware. But basically the advantage of it is it offloads all the... In layman terms, it offloads all the thinky-think portion of running a printer to a Raspberry Pi, which has a much more powerful compute unit in it, more RAM and everything. So the Pi does all the heavy lifting, and therefore the MCU on your controller board just does basic move here, move here. It doesn't do any thinking, it just follows instructions. So anyways, that allows you to theoretically get much more performance out of the same hardware than you would if you were running directly on the board itself. I really hate these never crimp right. Also, Clipper, yeah, it allows you to run at pretty much as many boards as you can plug into a Pi. As long as you have a unique USB ID for each one, you can control it. So when you go to do your config, you simply say, MCU this is motor this. Okay, MCU this is motor this. So you can have a bunch of motors on one board and a bunch of motors on another board. Let's see here. Marlin is great. Yeah, Marlin's old. Like, okay, it's not old. They're still updating it. But, I don't know. After playing around with Clipper, I don't see any point to go back to Marlin. Duet is expensive. I do still run rep firmware until I finally get around to updating that, which I might now because I have all the free time. So this guy needs an overhaul, but it will be running Clipper at some point, which I'm still going to keep my Duet in there because Duet is still good hardware. Don't get me wrong. A Duet 2 is a good controller board. But I will be flashing it over to Clipper. Ah, dang it. I pulled out the wires. 1 second. Let's see if I can fix this. Let's stab myself once. Stab myself twice. Nice. So a Raspberry Pi compute module in a printer is fine because it's pretty much the same hardware as a normal Raspberry Pi. The problem is there's no hookups on it. You need a way of connecting it to your board. Like at the minimum, you need at least a pinout for the 5-volt TX and the RX. A second one would be nice, you know, for a webcam, which pretty much everyone needs a webcam now with their printer. So I'm sorry, but I run all my printers lights out. Like, I don't watch my printers run at all. My computer upstairs, I have an old LCD monitor on it that is pretty much dedicated to webcam streams for my printers. Yeah, rep firmware is easy to use. It is simple, don't get me wrong there. I won't poo-poo it for that. But I just find the barrier to entry price-wise is hard to justify nowadays with Clipper being as good as it is for considering you can run it. You can run it on ramps and it runs just fine. Duet 2 killed 2 fan MOSFETs with crappy fans. Oof, that sucks. I almost killed the fan on here. I think it would kill it, but I had the one fan wired up backwards. So I was trying to, but luckily it didn't do any damage. Just quickly turned it back off and swapped it, and hey, it works. There we go. Golden Jaguar. So if you look on my channel, I have a video on how to set up Mainsail OS, and it's about a 15-minute install, and that's from well, not including time for flashing it on an SD card and whatnot. And then for the config, you literally can just edit it in the firmware. So once it's installed, if you need to update anything in your configuration, you just literally connect to the printer over the web page and just change whatever, hit save, and hit the restart button, boom, it's done. That's the one big advantage versus like Marlin or whatever. You don't have to compile your firmware for every change that you do. RepRap firmware is the same way. So I was hoping to go through a full like fresh Clipper install on this, but with the computer being as wonky as it is, I'm not even going to try. With the 2.4, what's the benefit of going with LDO motors? They make good motors. They're a little bit quieter, and they perform a little bit better than the OMCs. I'm still running OMCs on all my machines because I live in Canada and I can't really get LDO stuff here, unfortunately. We do have a supplier, but they're still out of stock of everything. And it's kind of, my current situation, it's kind of hard for me to justify dropping money on a new motor when I have motors in all my machines already and I don't really need to replace anything. Yeah, Mainsail OS, you don't need to, really the only thing you would need to go into, like SSH into it for, is to extract your firmware file to flash the original firmware on your board. Because once the board is flashed, everything else is just done through the web UI. LDO versus Moons, is there a notable difference? Yes, a lot of money. That's the big thing. Moons are really good, but they are pricey. Okay, let's see here. There we go. Did I crack it? Yeah, I cracked it. Oh well. No biggie. That ain't going anywhere. Okay, so make sure I plug the right thing in the right thing because I don't want to send 5 volts to a wrong line. So 5 volts is towards the top. Okay, and then I can ignore the RST. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the Moons motor fixed my VFA. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, again, it's CNC, and we're running like $10 motors, right? For the most part, most of us are. So you're seeing issues like with, you know, Vorons and other, I won't say just Vorons, but other higher quality printers. You're starting to see issues that were never an issue because other stuff kind of masked it. Like, I know for the longest time, everyone thought, you know, if you look at a printer or a printed part and you have a little wobble in it, it looks like you think it's your belts. It turns out it does play into it a little bit, but it's a minor factor. It's usually like motor artifacting. It's like both my V2s, I run smooth idlers on the belts. I don't bother with the tooth idlers, and honestly, for what I print and the speeds I print, I don't notice any difference. So I don't bother with it. Okay, there we go. So we have our Raspberry Pi 3. It's sitting right there. We got our... there we go. My crappy colors, because every stream I forget to update this. Come on. Let's not rerunning through the zombie apocalypse filter. There we go. Colors. Okay, so we got little 4 wires there. So now our Raspberry Pi is connected to our SKR. And if I really wanted to, I do have a webcam. I could plug in there, but we'll save that for later. Oh, and update. These came in for the V0. I'm still waiting on the lead screw because I haven't really printed anything on it since the last stream I did on it, because we do have some lead screw wobble issues, which is expected because I'm using a random oddball size lead screw. So I'm waiting on the new lead screw to come in, and I'll swap that out. What's your take on CAD software? I would say Fusion 360. I know they changed a whole bunch of stuff. I don't really CAD that much, but Fusion 360 was the one I had the most experience with. But yeah, they changed everything with the licensing and whatnot. So I as for what I'd recommend right now, I think still Fusion. Like, I know I tried to design something quick the other day, and it wouldn't let me export it as an STL, and everything changed, and it was yelling at me or something to give them money. So I kind of just closed the program down and went to bed. But, yeah. Okay. So that's done. So now we can kind of make this look a little bit more presentable. Oh yeah, this is done. Flex plate. And for the record, that guy has been running for about a week now. I printed about a dozen plus prints. And I have yet to retram the Z. So I've yet to do a gantry tram. And it's still, I'm still getting, you know, perfect first layers. So my Z has not drifted in a week, and it's probably about 40 hours of printing. So, because for the, eventually it will come how to print ABS video series. I've been printing tons of stupid little benchies at stupid speeds to show different effects of settings. So, yeah, all the benchies. Why the need for a gantry tram when QGL is a thing? Gantry tram is when you do the 4 in the corner, and it does meshes your gantry. Are you familiar with how the gantry tram works, Timothy? On a Voron V2? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, gantry tram, QGL. Quad gantry leveling. I call it tramming. Okay, let's make this not a complete fire hazard anymore. Another thing I'm hoping to be doing with all my now newfound free time, I'm going to try and reorganize this room a bit and actually set it up for streaming a little bit better. I don't know, do you guys like this camera angle kind of thing? I know it's probably better if I had a bench here working in front of it. But, like, literally, that's against the one wall. This is against the other wall. And I have maybe a third more in the other direction. So I don't really have a lot of room in this room. For the V0 T88 with a backlash nut. That seems to solve the Zev wobble issue that a lot of people seem to be having. I thought it auto trim before every print. That depends on your settings. For mine, it's so like broken in, and I know it's so like, this guy has like 15,000 hours on it, so I trust it so well. My setup, my print start setup is home go. It's heat bed, weight 10, home go. So I only had the Captain tape on there, so I didn't get electrocuted. That's not fun. So where are we even going to mount this thing? I'm going to mount it to this. And I'm going to do it in a super probably getaway. Yeah, we'll put that right there. We're going to put it right on the side there. So, and then it'll go into there, and then this will sit right there, and then I'll just have a breakout wire. There we go. So you go in, you go in, you go in. I'm probably going to cough again. I've had this stupid dry cough for the past week. There we go. Like a glove. Let's see here. Yeah, like, see, this is why I changed the setup. So originally, like, before I started streaming, or actually it might have been like on my first stream or two, I would go look, but my first stream was really bad in terms of quality. Originally, I had the printers on that wall, but I wanted them in the background of the stream, so I moved them over there. But the problem is now it's like my workbench right here. This guy's bolts to the wall, so it really won't move. I could make it move, but I really don't want to make it move. So I really don't have a lot of options. That's the downside with my current setup, is this is pretty much it. That goes there. Pull it back out, make sure nothing comes off. Yep, that's good, that's good. 35 mil and a nut, I believe, was the key here. Chat's going quick tonight. Really want to build a 2.4, but I don't necessarily with 2 printers. I already have first world problem. I have 4 printers. I'm working on my 5th, and I honestly probably only need the 1. So I've had like the idea to maybe sell off one of them or something in the future, but they don't cost any money sitting right there. So yeah, if you're going to build one Voron, I personally would like recommend the V1, because it's the most, like, I won't say bang for your buck, but for like the switch wire, for example, the switch wire is very good if you already have some of the components. So if you already have like an old i3 Mendel style printer, I think a switch wire would be a better option there than scratch building it. If you were going to scratch build a printer, I'd go with the V1. If you've never built a printer before, because it's a simpler design than the V2. Like, don't get me wrong, the V2 is a beast of a printer. But, I don't know. It really depends on what you want. And I want this screw to catch. Come on. There we go. Thank you for the helpful videos. I'm in the middle of bluing rails, but found the super blue seemed to work quicker than the perma blue. Yeah, I just used the perma blue because that was what Amazon had in stock. And I live in Canada, and stuff's a bitch sometimes getting stuff. So, like, I used to use, like, literally, like, cheapo random gun store blue when I started. And I used that on guns. But, like, pretty much any blue will work. Some blues just give a better finish. Or act quicker or whatever. So, there's multiple different options for it. There we go. So that mounts there. And honestly, I'll probably throw a zip tie around it. It'd be super ghetto. Yeah, the original Prusa, like an Ender, an Ender 3, a Prusa Mark II or Mark 3S is a great printer. Don't get me wrong. For its price and like its reliability, it's my go-to for, hey, I want to buy something for school or for work that's not super expensive like any of the MakerBots or whatever, or Ultimakers, but isn't gonna, shit the bed on me. So. How Prusa handling ABS without a closure. It'll handle it just like pretty much every other printer, where it might do it, but it won't be happy. Or at least the parts won't be, because you don't have anything to trap the heat in. You're going to basically bleed off all your heat into the room. I am running low on these. I don't think I have any more spade connectors. Am I out of spades? Nope. I know I had a box of spade connectors somewhere. I'll just use rings, whatever. That'll work. Any advice on printing ABS on PEI? Should I go with the textured one or smooth? It depends on what you want for your parts. Excuse me. For the finish. That's really a personal preference thing. Personally, I like smooth. I go with just, a PEI, my flex plates. Like, this is an energetic one. I've been using it for 10 months now. And it's just the sticker. Take a Scotch-Brite pad or some really high grit sandpaper and just kind of scuff it up a bit. Wipe it off with ISO and go to town on it. So you just want to make it a little bit matte finish. I find it sticks better than the shiny. For example, the TL plate on my switch wire is like textured PI on both sides. I'm not a super big fan of it. It doesn't, I find it's not sticky. I'm going to swap this plate out probably. So. But yeah, ABS and PEI are great. Like, you don't have to run it. You don't run into the issue that you do with PETG, where it sticks a little too well. Like, as you saw, I popped off some ABS parts there a minute ago, and they just, you let it cool down and they just pop. So. Yeah, ASA. I don't know why everyone suddenly believes, like, I know the 3D printer YouTubers say ABS is like super superior to ABS, or ASA is super superior to ASA, or what is it saying? Yeah, they keep saying that ASA is better than ABS. It doesn't warp as much and whatever. ASA is like 95% the same as ABS. It's pretty much just ABS that's formulated to resist UV damage. For the most part, they're mechanically the same. I have ASA that warps just as bad as ABS. I think the difference you see is you don't see cheap ASA the same as you see cheap ABS, right? Because ABS is an industry standard, right? Like, look at majority of plastic parts, it's ABS or a blend of ABS. ABS is a standard for a reason, okay? So when it comes to 3D printers, you'll find a lot of manufacturers of filament will just buy bulk cheap ABS and make filament out of it and sell it. So you see a lot of crappy ABS filament out there. ASA is more expensive than ABS. It's not as common. So those that want to make filament out of it usually want to make filament out of it because they want a good product. So I feel the reason people say ASA is better than ABS is because there's more higher quality ASA filament out there than there is higher quality ABS. Plus, a lot of people, and I did this too, when they want to try ABS the first time, they go out and they go on Amazon, they search ABS filament 1.75, and they sort by cheapest, and they buy the cheapest spool, and it smells horrible, and it prints like donkey do. And then they're like, oh my god, ABS is horrible, I'm going to go back to water bottles. Cheap ABS is melted Barbies, probably. ABS is, yeah, ABS was like, you saw ABS filaments before you saw PLAs. You saw a weed whacker line before you saw ABS, though. So eSun ABS Plus is my go-to ABS. Now, there are some downsides to it, I will say. If you haven't ever played with it, see, I think I have a part or two that I haven't been here. Yeah. So, the problem with eSun ABS is if it's flexier than normal. There we go. So this is, it flexes, right? So it's still relatively stiff, don't get me wrong, but it springs back really good. That's the good thing about it, okay? So compared to pure ABS, this flexes more, okay? Still not as bad as PETG, in my opinion. And it's nowhere near enough to cause, now this is a very thin part, right? When you're printing, blocky parts for like a Voron, it's a non-issue, okay? This is still pretty damn stiff. But I do find ABS Plus, the eSun ABS Plus is a little bit flexier than true ABS. But I haven't run into any issues. All my printers are built out of eSun ABS Plus. Even my Iron Man helmet. But, like, you can print something like this out of ABS. And I didn't have a single... Well, I have one part fail, and that's because I sliced it wrong. But... like... Actually... Right now it's all held together with tape and a few screws, so it's not super super strong. But I am waiting for the servos to come in, so it does fit. But I am waiting for the servos to come in because it does do the whole raise up and whatnot. So this is all ABS. This was printed kind of like this. There is some defects at the top because of the overhang, but all this is going to be sanded. I got to take this whole thing apart, sand all the parts, paint all the parts. But yeah, it's there's obviously some issues with it because it's a giant part, right? It's a giant flat part, and it's really thin, so you have issues where like it goes from like 2 to 1 wall. You can see some read through. And some of the overhangs aren't great because, again, it is ABS. It's not PLA. But ABS, I find, is easier to work with and make it look good than PLA. PLA is a bitch to sand, I find. ABS is easy to sand. computer to work with. Where's my glasses? Beryl, I got this motherboard working. Yes. Yay. You can use black ABS and you get some UV resistance to black particles. Yes. So for those that don't know, for ABS colors, you don't dye ABS. You add material to it called a colorant. It's like another pellet. And that basically mixes in with the ABS and that gives you color. So that's why white ABS is very weak. You have to add a ton of colorant to make it white. And by the time that's done, it makes it very brittle. So that's why you'll see people recommend never print your parts out of white ABS that need to be structural, because it's the weakest color of ABS. I've been able to print ESA and ABS on my Ender 5 unenclosed, keeping all drafts from around it by closing vents in the room. Yes, so I'll be covering that in my intro to ABS videos that hopefully I'll be able to do once this guy's up. But long story short, with ABS, on my V1, I printed a lot of parts for my original V 2.0 unenclosed on my any cubic, whatever plate, whatever the heck this thing's called, ultra base with a brim and a draft shield in this room with my vents taped up. And it printed everything pretty much perfectly without any warping issues. So I'm going to sleeve these wires, make this look a little better. I'll do it after. So yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do to get ABS to behave. And I'll be going through a lot of the common stuff when I get to it. But I see a lot of people just take like a PET or a PLA profile and they just crank the temperatures up and it doesn't work and they wonder why. So took a small saw to the motherboard and cut off the TH2 header since it was shorting. Oh, that's one way of doing it. Can I share the model? Yes, if you go to my Twitter at 3DPNero, because I'm not going to try logging into Twitter because the last time I did that, the computer blue screened while I was... I just don't trust the computer right now. But if you go to my Twitter at 3DPNero, I have a picture of the helmet at some point in my feed, and I did link it below that. So it's in there. But it's a newer model. It's not the one that a lot of people have used so far, but it's designed to automatically, like, I do have the servos and whatnot on order, so I'm just waiting for all that to come in. So I've been looking around for people's opinion. What do you think of high-end Chinese clone parts, stuff like Triangle Labs? Triangle Labs makes good shit. Flat out, their stuff is good. I have nothing against pretty much anything Triangle Lab makes. I use a lot of their stuff. Who else did you mention? The BMG. I use Triangle Labs BMG and the Dragon. My V0 has a Dragon in it. Both my V2s have mosquitoes, but that's because I already bought them and I paid a pretty penny for them, and I can't justify getting rid of them. But going forward, any Hotend I buy will be a Dragon or a Dragon derivative. But yeah. And they're not really clones. The Dragon and the Fetus are pretty much their own thing. Yes, they use the same method as the Mosquito, but it's still its own Hotend. Fizek is pretty good. My Duet clone in 26 pack here, going on 2.5 years. It's been fine. That's a Fizek. Mellow, I've never bought anything from Mellow, but some people have said good things, some people have said bad. You order computer parts, what parts? Oh, okay, so where did I put that? So right now, the current streaming computer is an X5450 with 8 gigs of AliExpress special DDR2 RAM in it. Yes, DDR2. On a consumer motherboard that's been flashed so that it doesn't have it used to have an E8400 dual core 2 duo in it. So a quad core Xeon from 2009 is an upgrade. So anyways, long story short, this was built out of spare parts. Kind of like, oh shit, I need a computer down here for streaming, because my laptop that I used for the first 2 streams was an i5 first gen laptop. an old Lenovo, so that didn't handle it either. So anyways, what I've ordered is it's a I got a Ryzen 3100, so Ryzen third gen Ryzen 3100 coming. Unfortunately, I originally wanted to get a 3300X. Dang it, crimp came off. So originally I wanted to get a 3300X. Unfortunately, it looks like that's pretty much vaporware now. They only like made the first batch of them, and nobody's gotten any of them since the first batch. So the 3100 is pretty much the same thing, only the cores are they're not on the same chiplet or whatever. But it shouldn't be that big of an issue because this computer isn't going to be gaming. Like, anything is a massive upgrade. And it performs better than the Intel of the same price. And it allows more room for upgrades down the line if I ever go that far. So I got a 3100 coming. I've got 16 gigs of RAM. Just a cheap Corsair kit. Yeah, the 3100 is still very competent, right? Like, it's a quad-core 8-thread. So it's pretty much as good as like an i7 from like 3 years ago. But yeah, so the reason I needed to upgrade was, you know, if the stream was conking out, if I was trying to like load web pages or a CAD file. So anyway, so that got the 3100. I've got a Gigabyte B450 motherboard on the way. It was on sale. It had all the hookups I needed. It had good reviews. So it had that, and then 16 gigs of RAM. And then I'm reusing the 1060 that I have in this right now. That's the only reason this is handling the stream at all, is because when I upgraded to a 5700 XT, I took my 1060, which originally going to go on the wife's computer, and I put it in here. And then the power supply is like a Corsair 450 or 550 watt, so a decent power supply. So what I'm thinking for this is I'm going to keep these, but I'm going to put I know I grabbed one. Because this is our power supply now. So this is our fancy all-in-one power supply now. Okay. So that's going to go there. Because I'm not mounting this to the printer. There's no room on it. I spent some time looking to see if there was somewhere where I can mount this. And I'm pretty sure 150 watts is enough, but if I have to bump it up to the 200 watt, which I have, just in case, I want to be able to just swap it. So I'm going to run 2 wires to the printer, but I'm going to have a XT60 connector for quick disconnect. Yeah, so I got the 1060, the power supply. I ended up buying like a new case, simply for this case. That way I can reuse what's in here, because I still have some spare hardware, so I can reuse this computer for like the living room or whatever, because that's what it was before. And then I got a spare SSD because I'm going to go install fresh. So the reason I went with the B450, I couldn't justify buying a 5500 or a 550. Like my main computer upstairs has an MSI B450 motherboard, so that will support the next gen if I ever upgrade, but it's got a 3700X right now, so it's, you know, an 8-core 16-thread. It's my upstairs computer's fine. I won't be upgrading that for a while. Which that guy replaced my old computer, which was an i5 2500K, and I got like 9 years out of that thing, so I really can't complain there. I had an XT60. I grabbed one out, and I don't know where I put it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so with the 450, like, think about it. It gives me room that I don't think I'll ever need more than that down here. Like, I'm streaming building computers, right? I'm not like, I don't have four 4K cameras and all that jazz. So the 3100 will be perfectly fine, but it does give me the room to up it to whatever down the line if I ever need to. So I'm happy about that. So I ordered all that stuff Tuesday. So it should be in Monday. So I ordered it all Tuesday. Right? Threw it on the credit card. And then I walked into work and got laid off. Well, temporary laid off due to COVID. So I was like, awesome. Fun times. Oh well. What can you do? Okay, so now we gotta solder up these XT60s. Which I don't think I've ever done these before. So Monday it'll come in. I would like to try streaming the build. I might just stream the build just for chit chat. But I'm gonna have to figure something out for a setup because I gotta rip the components out of this computer to set up the other one. So still rocking 3770. You know what? I was tempted to try and just swap out my i5 to a 3770. But the used prices on those things are stupid right now. Well, they've been stupid for a while. Actually, I think I have some better XT60s somewhere. Yeah, I have some of the covers, I believe, somewhere. Or did I lose them? Might have lost them. Oh, okay. Stream from phone. Yeah, I might just stream from my phone. Ah, there we go. Now I was looking. I have the ones that have the XT60s with a little caps on them. They're expensive because they up until like 3 years ago, what was the upgrade with Intel? Like a 7700K was only how much better than a 2700K or a 3770K, right? Like Intel in their incremental updates for so long kept everything at a high value because a lot of people bought a 2500K and they wanted to upgrade to a 3770 because that was the best they can get with their motherboard, right? But yeah, old prices, like, don't get me wrong, I tried looking on the used market over the weekend to try and find like a 2700 or even like a 1700, like an older Ryzen used up here. And our used market sucks. So I kind of gave up. What side's positive on these? Does it matter? Yeah, I'll make that side positive, I guess. Yeah, we'll go with that being positive. So I remember watching a video on this a while ago, and they're like, solder blob it up, and then melt it in. So oh yeah, used CPU price or used GPU prices are stupid up here. Like I bought my 5700 XT back at the beginning of the year from the States. Not somewhat used, and I saved a massive amount, like $100 than buying it new in Canada. Like our prices up here suck, unfortunately. Like general rule of thumb, in my opinion, for like electronics in Canada is exchange rate plus 15%, just flat out. Like I think the 3070s are $1,000 video card up here, or no, they're $750, and I think the 3080s are $1,000 plus or minus a couple hundred for whatever model. think that's how you do it. That looks okay. When you get a chance, can you show the Bonsai printer again? Yes. I haven't really changed much since last week. I was hoping to do firmware stuff on it this week, but my computer's being an absolute PETA, so I'm just kind of cleaning it up. So this won't be a full stream, and I probably won't do a Saturday stream this week, simply for the fact that I need to do software stuff, and I can't really do that on a computer that doesn't want to work. So we might, this might be the stream for the week. So Monday will probably be a computer building stream, and then we'll move on from there. Transfer the heat, come on. There we go. Don't burn my finger. Come on, remelt. Oh. There we go. Okay. I knew somebody who had an i7-920 and 8600K until the 8600K. That's actually, you know what? First and second gen core series weren't too bad. Friend of mine is getting rid of 1600 line. That's fine, man. Honestly, by the time exchange and whatnot, like up here, I paid 134 for the 3100, and that's shipping and whatnot. So that's honestly not too bad. I can't complain against that. There we go. So that is that end. So now I got to do the other end. So we'll put about that much wire in it. That seems about right. Quick tip with the XT60s, connect both parts to enable better heat sinking with soldering. Good idea. I already got the one done, but I'll do that for the next time. Good tip, though. British method for American stuff is just change the price from USD to GB, Great British Pound. That's usually the price. Canada dollar is almost sounding as bad as the Aussie dollar. I think we're around 75 cents right now. So a dollar Canadian is like 75 cents US. Which traditionally, that's pretty much what it's always been. It's always been like, I remember as a kid. At one point, our dollar being like 62 cents or something like that, or even lower. It might have been like high 50s at one point. But technically that's good for our economy because we're so intertwined with the States, for example. So many companies move like manufacturing up here because they can manufacture stuff here for cheap. So that means lots of job opportunities, right? Like I live in an industrial town, so a lot of manufacturing. So I paid unspeakable prices for my 1080 Ti. Honestly, though, a 1080, if you bought a 1080 Ti, how many years ago, right? The fact that it is 2020 now, and it's still a good card, it just doesn't have RTX, right? But it still will push pretty much, if you're playing on like 1080p or even 1440p, most games will still run just fine. So the fact that you got so many years out of a 1080 Ti, it might be worth it, you know, for the money if you got it like for on sale when it was newish. I want to build a Voron 2.4 later this year. Thanks to your videos. Any thoughts on 250 versus 300? What do you think of MJF PA parts plus high temp belts and stepper? So I don't play with high temps. I've done nylon a couple times, but that's about it. If you can get the parts, I think people have had good results, but I don't really see a need for it unless you are pushing the high temps. You got to remember everything in the print volume has to be able to survive the temperatures, right? So your belts, your pulleys, your motors, the probe, everything. So the V2 isn't really meant to be a high temp printer. If you're going to go high temp on any of the Vorons, I would say a V1 would be more forgiving because your Z isn't riding on belts. So the V1 would be the one I would go to for high temp. As for size, if you don't know, personally, I would say 300 because you're still going to find everything relatively common. 350 stuff starts getting quite expensive for especially for the bed components, but 300 is a common size, and the price difference between the 250 and the 300 isn't really that much. So. I'm super excited for my Hevort I'm building with the Sherpa Mini and TL Dragon. Yeah, 1080 still a good card. Like, put it this way, I have a 5700 XT on my main computer. Only because I got that as a good deal. Before that, I had the 1060. But I game at 1080p. I have a good 24-inch 1080p monitor. But I run 165 hertz. I like my high refresh rate. You know, right now I'm not really playing any video games. I'm waiting on Cyberpunk, like everyone else is, and they keep delaying it. One day we will play Cyberpunk. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this one is the, yeah. That's already on, good. I don't like this. Come on. There we go. Okay. Every time you say Cyberpunk gets delayed, it's already been delayed. Like, that's why I bought the 5700 when I did. I honestly wanted to wait until, like, the 3000 series, because I was going to, I'll just get a 3060, right? But, again, 1080p. But, ended up getting delayed, and then, good thing I didn't wait for a 3060, because they're still not, they haven't announced it yet. So luckily I haven't had any issues with the, I know some people have had issues with the 30, or the 5700, but, dang it, I forgot to put the thing in there. I take that out now. I know people have had driver issues. I haven't, luckily, so. There we go. Wow, this puts a lot of heat into them. It's a big connector, though. I got a 2 Tree Sapphire Pro as a fun little hobby printer to work on. Holy crap, it's been a nightmare to even get working at all. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Oh, let me pull it up here. 2 Trees Pro. Oh, this one. Okay. Yeah, this one. Oh my god, it's a Benchy. Okay. My like pet peeve when it comes to reviewers is I bought a printer, look at this Benchy. Because I will put it this way, the best Benchy I've ever printed, ever, was on my Monoprice Select Mini, and it took like 2.5 hours. Because if you take the time to tune the settings right and have your everything configured right, any printer will print a good Benchy for the most part. Okay, so comparing print quality on a printer is kind of, by just looking at a part, is a no-show in my opinion. There are better ways of comparing printers. Okay, so let's see. Oh wow, okay, another print. Stringing is horrible, but that's extruder, so there's no pictures on it. Trying to find more pictures. Banggood. Let's go on Banggood. Yeah, see, yeah, you can get great printers out of an Ender, but like, for example, if I were to tell you, you know, hey, on your Ender right now, throw ABS in it, drop your settings down so you print a Benchy in 30 minutes in ABS. Like, that's a 30-minute ABS Benchy right there. That's at 300 millimeters a second, 4K XL, or 7K XL, sorry. So yeah, it obviously has issues, but that is a Benchy done in 33 minutes. Okay? In ABS. And the reason it's good is because I did 4 of them at the same time. So it's technically a 2 hour and 17 minute or whatever print time, but each Benchy was 33 minutes. Because, again, going back to the ABS video, both these Benchies were printed in the same amount of time, okay? But one was printed by itself, and one was printed with 4 others. So this is what layer time does. Because they both were printed at the exact same speeds, right? The tool heads were moving the same speeds when printing both of these. But as you can see, you know, that one looks great. That one's a melty glob in a lot of places, especially the bow. You can see the big difference in the bow, okay? And that's what layer time does, okay? So you want to do what you can to give each layer time to set with ABS instead of just YOLOing it and going. So. There we go. So we got the 2 connectors. Put that back up there. Print in ABS, both of you think I could even get one finished? Honestly, I wish I had an Ender 3. I would have loved to have an Ender 3 to do the how to print ABS videos on. Simply because it's such a, you know, so many people have it. And I tried with my Banggood contact to see if they'll ship me one. But they wouldn't, unfortunately. So, we got this guy. But, no biggie. They sent me a controller board, though. And then they're like, oh, hey, we're changing the contact you speak to. And I'm like, okay, cool. Who's the new one? They're like, oh, this guy. Email him. And then I emailed them, and my email address is blocked. So I don't know if they just kind of gave up on me or what. But, whatever. I don't care. None of us, like, Banggood isn't exactly a supplier for any of our Voron stuff. Like, If AliExpress did, that'd be different. Yes, full build plate is like, so with ABS, you want to do what you can to, you want your speed, don't get me wrong, like you don't want to wait, 3 hours for every part, right? You do want speed, but you don't want your tool head wasting time. So load your print bed up with a lot of parts, so that way you can do each part quick, but you still get that layer time for everything to shore up, okay? Barrel, once you figure out how to print ABS, it's magic. Yeah, no fighting words in chat. No getting, people can like whatever they like, but once, like, I pretty much print ABS exclusively. Because once you know what you're doing, ABS is amazing plastic. Like, you can still get really good detail out of ABS. Yeah. This is ABS with like a 0.8 millimeter nozzle, I believe. I don't think I have... Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll bring out Alduin. So, for anyone who poo-poos that you can't get details and good prints out of ABS... This guy is ABS. And this is not eSun ABS plus cheater mode ABS. This is crappy Sunlu jams every roll. And you're throwing out nozzles every couple hours because it jams all the time. Crappy ABS. Unfortunately, he had wings and a tail, but he fell. So I need to redo him at some point. But that is ABS. Did you put ferrules in the control board? Yes, I did. I don't put bare wires in. So now I have wires. I got a quick connect here for when I need to disconnect. These can go separate. I can plug it in. Okay, so that goes there, that goes there. I do have a little cover plate that I printed off. Camera 2. There we go. So I got no exposed wires now. I got our little quick connect here if I need to. This can just sit there. So let me turn this guy on and make sure I got power to the Pi. I gotta turn this like that. There we go. So, yeah, that definitely looks a little bit more professional than the setup I had originally. Lights. Okay, I'm getting nothing on the Pi. Why am I getting nothing on the Pi? Yeah, so that's 5 volt ground. Yeah, that's plugged in correctly. Ricardo, good night. You have a video showing how to configure ABS? I will. The reason I'm building this is so I can do intro to ABS on a generic non-Voron printer, because if I show you guys how to print ABS on a Voron, it's literally download the profile and hit print. So I have really nothing against PET. It's just when you can print ABS well, it really diminishes the need for PET. But yeah. No SD card. Does it need to have an SD card in it to power up? I didn't think that would be an issue. I could put an SD card in it. It doesn't have anything in it. Hopefully that doesn't crash my computer. So I got an SD card. I got that plugged into the TFT. Power is power, right? Five volt ground. 5 volt ground. Yeah. Like, we're getting lights on the board, but we're getting nothing on the Pi. Now, is there a jumper? Do I have to have a jumper on this at some point? Is the light on the bottom or the top on the Pi? On the top, right? Okay, turn that off. Let me see here. Should have a cable somewhere. No, that's mini USB. There we go. Plug this just in case. Well, I'm just going to give it some power. I might have a dead Pi here. Because I just plugged it in. Oh, no, that's USB. I need power. I'm getting no light. Where is the light supposed to be at? It's supposed to be... Where is it? Yeah, I'm getting nothing on here. No, Corbin. You shouldn't have to enable GPIO for power. Like, I'm getting nothing. I got to plug directly into a wall wart here. Power in. Nothing. I might have a dead Pi. LED is next to power connector. Okay, so that works. Yeah, I'm getting no power. And it is wired up correctly. I do have ground and power going to the correct ones on the TFT. So, do I have a dead Pi here? This is literally a brand new Pi. Like, I took it out of the bag and I soldered a header on it. That shouldn't cause any issues. Don't tell me I just dropped a screw into my power supply. Come on. Oh, no, I did. Good job. The LEDs would be near the power. Yeah, check for shorts in the header. Nope, no shorts. Let me double check the... Well, I'm not getting power from the anything. Yeah, because I have that like that, so that one is 5 volt ground, TXRX. Dang it. I got a dead Pi here. Now, I could throw in a Pi 3A. I do have a 3A. Let's see, reseat the micro. I don't think it's a micro SD because I would be getting power at least. Like the LED would at least come on. Like this doesn't have an SD card in it, and like it still lights up. Like it still lights up when it gets power. But this guy, nothing. It's dead. And I don't see how soldering a header onto it can fry it that easily. No, there is no power LED. Then what the heck on my Zero here? So is there just a Wi-Fi LED? There's no power LED? Is that how it works? Huh. Oh, okay, I need a flashed SD card. So that means theoretically... Okay, 1 second here. Yeah. You come out, you come out. So... Okay, there we go. It's blinking. It's... There we go. Okay, so we do have an LED. Okay. I could have sworn it had a power LED. There we go. That's how I monitor my RepRap firmware. I pulled the SD card out of my Pi that sits on top of my V2 that I use for the webcam. Okay, so we are okay, actually. We are okay. So let me put this back in, hook it back up, and power it back up and see if we get power. Okay, so it's not dead. Well, at least it's not dead. We still got to check and make sure it's powered through GPIO. Screw this back in. Let's see. Does the printer run Clipper? No, my V2, this one right here, this V2 runs RepRap firmware. So I keep a Raspberry Pi on top of it. It's running like Octoprint from like 2 years ago. Actually, probably from 3 years ago now. And I just use it for the webcam. Wait, do you hook your LCD to the Pi? Not the... this doesn't have an LCD. I probably won't bother with a screen on this guy at all. Trying to get a reasonable amount of sleep. That's baby talk. No sleeping. Have a good one. 3 a.m. here. I know I'm going to try and do earlier streams. If my computer stuff shows up early, I might do like a midday stream on Monday or Tuesday. I'll stream the printer or the computer build because why not? I got nothing else to do. So I'll do that on either Monday or Tuesday during the day. Because I know a lot of people watch these streams late. So I'm going to have to flash mainsail on these guys on my main computer because this computer is being absolute a pain in the butt right now. Okay, so actually let me put the card in here that I know will get me an image. So I plug that in there. Plug, make sure I got nothing in that. That in there. Okay. Plug that in there. And I should get some LEDs. Yay! Okay, so it is working. Yay! Sweet. We are alive. So I'm going to have to update the firmware on the board because it's running older Clipper. Because this board was originally flash when I built my V0 originally. So that's a couple months back. Actually, that's back in, I want to say January. There we go. Okay, let me get some cable sleeving on this guy and make it not look like butt. So yeah, so in the coming weeks, this guy should be up and running soon, hopefully. Afterwards, I'll probably move on to and finally do the rebuild on V2. So I'll be redoing the motors on it for the Z, and then I gotta put Clipper on it. So Clipper install on a Duet, which I haven't done before. And it's a Duet with an expansion board, so that should be fun. Because this guy hasn't been touched electronics-wise in almost 3 years now. So we almost chucked the Pi Zero. I would have called the buyapie.ca and been like, hey guys, what the hell? Okay, so now I'm going to play with some electronics and make this mess not look like quite the mess it is. I don't think there's really too much I can do other than a lot of zip ties. All the zip ties. Yeah, let's just get all the zip ties and just depend on everything. What are my thoughts on IDEX printers? If you have a use case that would warrant an IDEX printer, then get an IDEX printer. It's like belt printers. A lot of people just see them as shiny toys and want because shiny. But a lot of things, like, if you need it, buy it. But if you don't need it, it's hard to justify it type thing. It's like I did that video there on my channel, which if you haven't watched it, watch it. Where I did some very basic strength tests on some printed parts. Printed to mimic like an Infinite Z belt printer. Because I was watching Joel's stream, 3D Printing Nerd. When he was going over the CR30, and a lot of people in chat were mentioning how, oh, this is great, I'm going to use it for my print farm, or just, this is going to be the future of printing. But the problem is, like, if you were to just buy that printer and just load it up with Voron parts and print off Voron parts, depending on how they're sitting on the bed, you're going to have a lot of failed parts. Like, I don't think a lot of people realized how much that 45 degree offset or angle on the tool head will affect things. So, hey, Tricky Nero seeking it alive. Yes, I'm now free on afternoons, so I'm now free every day. I am now a professional YouTuber. Not by choice, though. What's One Punch Man say? I'm a YouTuber for fun. Is that the Adam Savage apron? Yes, this is the Adam Savage apron. Well, not the one he made. This is the one he bought. And you know what? I actually like it. It's comfy. It keeps, because this is a wooden bench. It kept me from, like, destroying shirts if I'm working on stuff and getting, like, just stuff in my shirt. So you know what? I like it. And it holds pens and my ruler and my pocketbook. Well, notepad, I mean. I like it. And it's cheap. It's only like 30 or 40 bucks, like US. I only paid like $45 Canadian for it. And it's on Canadian Amazon, which is surprising. So yeah. There we go. That looks better. So I'll do a little turntable here. Wow. I got one of these days I actually got to go through and clean everything. Starting to get into a disorganized mess here. Okay. Nero's worst enemy, IDEX belted printer. The Chinese Voron group have a Chinese Voron V2 IDEX. Some crazy son of a gun over there made it work. And it looks cool. It's not something I'll ever need, but... is there something like tool change coming to Voron? Is that standing... So the problem with tool change on a V2, okay? If any Voron was going to have tool changing, it would be the V1. Because the problem with the V2 is... Okay? You have your tool head, can move around in X, Y, and Z. So, to have a tool change, you would have to have a tools up here at the front, okay? So every time it goes to do a tool change, it'll have to come all the way up over here to the front or the back if you mounted everything on the back, it depends. That adds a whole other dimension. So it's printing X, Y, and then it has to come up, all the way to the front, change, and down. That adds a lot of bulk up here, it just makes it really complicated. More than it needs to be. So if any Voron was going to have a tool changer, it would be a V1, and there's no active, like, dev working on it. So. Okay, so let's bring up the camera. So this is, hello. Oh, that moves, okay. So this is the current state of crappy i3. So we got our tool head there. It's got a Triangle Labs V6 Gold Edition. 30 watt, 12 volt heater. It's got a 5015 fan. Generic OMC extruder, or motor on the extruder. The extruder is our good old fashioned Mark 8 with a smooth idler. This is all stock for the Bonsai design. Our Z probe is a fancy $3 PL08 that is literally bolted to the side here. And I'm probably just going to put a few drops of super glue on it just to keep it from moving. You know what? Let's do that now. If I can find my super glue. I don't know where my super glue went. I'll look for it later. Our Z motors are the original X and Y motors out of the Monoprice Select Mini. They are tiny as hell. And our couplers are printed ABS because YOLO. And the fancy ones that I bought won't fit. What else? Our controller board is an SKR Mini E3 V1.2 that I had left over. We got a Pi Zero. Our limit switches are whatever random cheapo these ones are. We got a 12 volt bed that's 60 watts, I think. We got our 150 watt power supply that I kind of rigged together. So yeah. Bought a Big Tree Tech mixing extruder for my Ender 5, but not finished mounting it. I never played with anything mixing. Like, Switchwire has a Y splitter built into the tool head. Mine does. It has the beta one. And I've only done a few prints with it. You know, Charmander. But I don't do a lot of cosmetic stuff anymore like I used to. So I just kind of built it just to, if I ever do play around with it. Benchy Wen. So not tonight, unfortunately. This computer, for those that missed the beginning of the stream, has crashed and blue screened twice when I was setting up the stream. And it seems to be when I'm running Balana Etcher to try and flash the SD card. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do that on another computer. I've already been streaming for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I didn't plan on doing a full stream tonight. So, what I'm probably going to do is do the software setup on this on my own time. Monday or Tuesday, I'll do the stream where I'm building a new computer. Hopefully the parts will all be then by then, so I won't have to deal with this anymore. I'm hoping it'll improve the quality a little bit. I don't know if it will. But then what that means is if I can get the software set up, probably next Thursday. I think Thursday works better now that I'm available on weeknights. I'll probably do Thursday streams now and maybe Saturday. I don't know. We'll see. I got a lot of free time now. But probably next week, I'll do the stream where we'll get this guy printing. So I'll at least get the firmware installed on it. As for the configuration, we'll do that on the fly because this guy is definitely not standard or stock. So I kind of want to show people how to set up something first time. So doesn't a gold edition Triangle Labs defeat the whole purpose of Triangle Labs, spending more money than necessary? It's like $1 more for their, like, let me pull it up here. AliExpress. It's like gold plated. It's not gold. And the heater cartridge is like a completely dirt cheap, like 30 watt. That I don't even know what brand it is. Okay, let's see here. Triangle Labs. Those people look so excited for... Oh yeah, 11/11. That's like Prime Day for AliExpress, basically. Hotend and nozzle. 3D V6. Ooh, they make super volcanoes. Don't anyone buy a super volcano, please. So yeah, so their standard V6 for the hardware is $10.35 US, whereas the high quality gold is $12.25. Like, it's not much. It's like $2 more, and it's gold. You know, you can't even see it in here because the way this Hotend is designed, it's basically like a mini Prusa one. Yeah, so there you go, $17 for the entire Hotend with a gold. $17.51 if you wanted a volcano. Which I have a volcano. I've never used it. So here's the thing, though. A high flow dragon and even a high flow mosquito will not beat a volcano in terms of raw output, but you'll have a lot less issues with the dragons or the mosquitoes. So unless you absolutely need to output 40 millimeters cubic a second, there's no point in getting a volcano, I believe, because of the downsides of it are much more than the high flow dragon and mosquito variant. So I'm on the opinion the ruby tip nozzle is BS. What do you believe? I concur. Here is my thing with nozzles, okay? Let me show you the nozzle you buy if you want to you want a good nozzle. You go to Triangle Labs. Where is it? This guy right here. So plated copper nozzle, okay? This is my go-to nozzle. This is what I have on all my printers, okay? 0.4 millimeter, this is my go-to nozzle, okay? This guy doesn't have one because I just don't have an extra one. But it's copper, and then it has a nickel plating, I think, on it. So copper has the best heat transfers of any material for nozzles, okay? It's better than brass. It's much better than steel. You want the heat to transfer from the block into the plastic. So if you look, if this whole portion is, a crappy transference of heat, your plastic's only really melting, so, you have to crank the heat on your block. And it doesn't transfer as well. Because not only does it heat up, you got to crank more heat into it to heat it up. It doesn't transfer that heat into the plastic as efficiently. So, and it's plated so that stuff doesn't stick to it. Like my nozzle in there is shiny still. Like I took it off on a stream before, but I don't clean my nozzles. I never clean any of my nozzles because nothing sticks to them. At least none of the ABS I print does. So, Timothy C. Bonsai versus V0. What I build now? Build of V0. This guy has it's a Thingiverse design printer. Okay, it has issues. It's like I mean, pump that over there. Okay, so you have this whole printer here, plus you have the power supply. Versus I got a camera on it. Yes. These have the same print volume. Okay? They're the same height, roughly. This is a little bit taller, but this has the wiring loom. But in terms of depth, this is bigger. In terms of width, this is much bigger. Now, you can't count the spool holder because this doesn't have a spool holder on it. Plus, this one, all your electronics are in it already. Like, they're in the volume. This I built literally out of scrap parts. That's why I built it, because this design was pretty much scrap parts. So, and I built it as the instructions recommend. So my extrusions aren't even blind jointed together. The only thing holding the extrusions together are the printed parts, because that's what the design is. And I built it to the design. The only thing I changed was I had to change the bed so that I could use a heated bed, because you can't print ABS on a non-heated bed with any form of reliability. Yeah, talking with a dry throat. So yeah, build a V0. Okay, so it's 9:30 right now. I think I'm gonna start winding down the stream. Take some pictures, put them on Twitter. So, oh my God, we have 73 people. Yeah, so I'm probably no Saturday stream this week. I'll wait till the new computer comes in, build that so we actually have a reliable computer, and then hopefully we'll get this guy printing, and then I can finally do the how to print ABS for Dummies series, or the art of ABS, or whatever I decide to call a series. The threads between the nozzle and the heat hot block are another heat. Yes. So that's the thing with the V6, is a lot of people run a titanium heat break to prevent heat creep, because it's such a thick heat break, because it's structural, that a lot of heat goes up into the heat sink and you get heat creep issues really easily. So you run titanium. The problem is titanium goes down to the block. So you only have heat transference through the nozzle, and if you run a steel nozzle, it just goes to shit. So you hope the MOSFET can handle the temps. Are you talking about the bed? It should, because this is meant for the Ender 3. Okay, now this is the V1.2. The V2 has a bigger MOSFET for the bed, but this is only a 60 watt bed. So I'm not too concerned about it being able to handle this bed as is. If it does become an issue for whatever reason, I do have a standalone MOSFET that I could use. Okay, the reason I have the standalone MOSFET is originally I was going to use a Mini 1.1, which is the board because I got this really cheap on a random sale, and I have some 2208s, but I never end up using it. So. Yeah, buy metallic or just buy a mosquito or a dragon. Buy a dragon. Mosquitoes are expensive. I like the mosquito, don't get me wrong. It's a great hot-end. The problem is I can't justify it for the price. And then the copperhead, or whatever Fadis copied or created their own version of the copperhead. The copperhead loses all the advantage that the other ones have because you lose the single-piece construction, single-handed nozzle replacements, and now the heat breaks back to being structural again, which, if they didn't beef it up, means it's a weak point. So, I know, I like dragons. The dragons I like. So, I wish I knew where my super glue went. I gotta glue this in. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just Gorilla Glue it. Screw it. Fadis has the dragon out. Fadis, I'm pretty sure, is the original designer of the dragon, and Triangle Labs is the secondary vendor, I believe. I'm not 100% certain on that. Don't quote me. But, because Fadis has a higher quality dragon, basically. Now, is it higher quality to the point where it's actually a noticeable improvement? I don't know. But it is quote unquote better. But I have no problem with dragons. I say the amount of... Yes, so I bought the dragons, or the skeeters on this guy and the other V2. This mosquito has been running since whenever we did the group buy like a year and a half ago for mosquitoes. So it's got thousands of hours on it, and it's been zero issues. I haven't had a single jam on it. We need enclosure for the bonsai. Yes. Oh, what am I gluing? I'm gluing the probe on because we literally just strapped a probe onto the side of this thing for our Z end stop because this originally had a BL Touch, which I personally don't like the BL Touch. I have one. I don't like it. So I said, screw it. And instead of putting a fixed end stop, I just strapped a probe to the side by swapping out a screw and just kind of putting it in there. Unfortunately, it just kind of hanging there by one screw. So to shore it up a bit, I'm gluing it because this guy doesn't deserve a lot of money put into it. Llama 2. Oh my God. I'm particularly a little glad about the layoff because more videos. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I am going to try and keep the content up to kind of justify putting more videos out there. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I don't have anything for like donators. I don't want to set up memberships or anything like that. If you like this content, just, if you want to throw a couple bucks my way, go right ahead. If not, just keep watching this. We're all here to learn. I'm killing time because I don't really have much else to do now. So this is now officially, I am a YouTuber, so thank you. But yeah, so I do plan on having more videos coming out. I'm going to try and do a video and a stream a week, maybe more, as time allows. But we'll see how that keeps going. Money for 1111. I can't justify dropping money now on printer parts. That's the thing. I might drop a couple bucks here and there for a few small things. But I still have stuff on the way I'm waiting on. Yes, the next stream will be building the streaming computer. Because this one needs to be retired and go back to just playing Netflix and Little Baby Bum for my son. Because this is like... Or Cocomelon. Cocomelon is the shiz, people. Y'all need to get on your Cocomelon. That is a good channel. Subscribe to Cocomelon. Oh my God, that's all I listen to. Okay, let me get back on track here. Thanks, Llama. Will I need an enclosure? Yes. So, okay. So for enclosing the bonsai, okay, we have all kinds of fancy materials. You can use acrylic. You can use coroplast. Okay. What we are going to enclose this guy with is cardboard. I'm going to build a cardboard box and put it over it. Or I might throw a towel on it. We'll see. But basically, I want to do this like literally as simple as possible. Like the point of this is very basic, get you going. Now, I know people are like, oh my God, fires. Because it always comes up that, are you worried about fires? If I was worried about fires, I wouldn't be running something that can cause a fire in my house, okay? All these printers run lights out. I trust them to run lights out fully. I know the wiring in them because I did them all myself. Even this guy with its rat's nest, I know nothing here as long as something doesn't fail critically. I have a smoke detector. It's right up here in the room. There is a smoke detector right there. So I'm not worried about fires, okay? The stuff you see that catches fire is usually severely designed incorrectly. Usually, like the ender fires that you saw were, for the most part, the heater blocks coming out of the heater, or the heater cartridge coming out of the heater block, and like landing on a printed part. Okay, so I'm not worried about fire. So yes, I'm literally just going to cardboard this guy up, and I want to show different methods of insulating and seeing what kind of effect they have. Okay. So the easiest way, if you want to know how well your enclosure works for trapping heat in, is your hot end is a really good thermistor, okay? So move your hot end to the middle of your print volume, XYZ middle, turn your bed to 100 degrees Celsius, and let it sit for an hour, and then see what your hot end temperature is, and that's what your chamber temp is for the most part. So I'll probably do a few tests with cardboard box, and a few other things. I do have like foam insulation and coroplast, so I may try a few different things. But it's really, with ABS, especially Voron parts, it's the drafts and just getting your ambient temperature. As soon as you hit about 30 degrees and no drafts, ABS starts to print a lot easier. Okay? So, yes, and thermal runaway protection is a thing. Like these guys all have thermal runaway, and the ones that have mains beds have thermal fuses that pop and are done. Okay, so if this bed gets to 120 at any reason, it will pop a fuse and the bed is absolutely dead. It can't reignite. So, and then the other ones are just PCB beds, so they just got software thermal runaway. So, but yeah, as long as you don't have a massive draft and you have your settings right, you can print ABS with minimal enclosure. And another big thing with the enclosure, only as big as you need, because the less air you have to keep at temperature, the hotter it will get. So when I see people put like Ender 3s in these massive boxes that you can fit like 20 rolls of filament in there, it's overkill. It's massively overkill for the size, and you're making it harder to keep the temperatures hot. Nylon, I don't print a lot of nylon. I've only done it a few times with some samples I had. You run it through a dry box before printing it. I'm pretty sure you got to run like no part fan. I haven't touched nylon in a while. Do you recommend just fan with filter on the enclosure or have the exhaust? I don't I don't filter any of my ABS printers. Right now, only this guy is fully enclosed for ABS. The enclosure for V2 isn't done yet because plexiglass was hard to find for a while. I can't order it from Tap Plastics without paying a stupid amount of money. So I'm probably just going to enclose that guy with coroplast when I get to it. Now, this is the only printer I print ABS on. I fully enclosed it. Everything is gasket sealed. I work in plastic injection molding, so I don't even smell ABS anymore. But for ABS, the VOCs float in hot air, okay? So if you have everything gasketed up, the VOCs can't get out of the printer. You might smell it, but the bad stuff is like an oily residue. It'll pretty much just stay in the printer, okay? Because I have gaskets on all my panels, okay? See? It's gasketed. So when everything's sealed up, heat rises, the bad stuff rises with it, it can't get out of the printer, okay? Just wait till your print finishes, wait for everything to return to ambient temperature. The residue will basically land on the walls of the printer, and then you're fine to open it. So that's how I deal with ABS fumes. I work in the industry, and the levels that you get exposed to from just, having a 3D printer printing somewhere in your house are pretty much negligible compared to industrial levels that would be of issue. So yeah, honestly, like if you wanted a semi-permanent enclosure, you can get it's like duct insulation, I think it is. It looks like it's got the metallic silvery cloth, and just like some really cheap dowels or PVC pipe. You can probably get dowels, and there's probably a design on Thingiverse for something that'll hold them together into a cube. So you literally just need a cube without a bottom that you can just wrap some blankets around and put it over your printer. Put a webcam in there and you're good to go. Okay, so I think I'm going to call it there, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight. I know we didn't get as far as I wanted to originally, but computer problems are computer problems, and we can't fix everything. So we got this to a state where all that needs to be done on here is firmware and configuration, and then we're going to be pushing plastic out of this pile of spare parts. And then once this guy's printing, that'll be it for this guy on stream for the most part. It'll be moving on to videos at that point. And then after that stream, the next big thing will probably be, I don't know, people kind of want me to go over the switch wire on a stream, so I might do that, a stream just on switch wire. I don't think I have any videos on my channel of the switch wire actually printing. So I might do switch wire, or I might go to the upgrades on this guy. Wage, I probably won't be doing the Saturday stream, just because I kind of want a computer that I won't have. I want to be able to get through a stream without having to worry about a blue screen when I'm doing software and firmware stuff. So I'm probably not going to do the Saturday stream. So, but how many total printers do you have? I have 4 functional at the moment, and then this guy, so 5 altogether. So at this point, everyone, have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Tomorrow's Friday. Yay, it's almost the weekend. Take care out there, and be safe. Wash your hands. Ciao.